Good morning, y'all. I had a few things on my mind that I was going to try to make a video about this week, but as always, you kind of got to be fluid around here because plans have to change on a pretty regular basis. So I decided I would just give y'all a little tour of everything we've been doing lately, and I've had a whole lot of questions, and I'm going to try to address some of those in this video. One thing that's a recent development is our big cooler. If you've been watching the channel very long, you know we have a big cooler, and we've still got some junk and stuff in here that we need to get cleaned out, but pretty big progress. Put a 24,000 BTU LG air conditioning unit in and put a CoolBot Pro on it. Pretty excited about that. Real happy with it so far. So with the CoolBot Pro, you get an app where no matter where I'm at, I can get on my phone and change or modify, check on the cooler. It sends me alerts if the temperature gets out of range. You can see the temperature just jumped up a little bit because I opened the door. But you've also got this graph that tracks what the temperature's been doing. Pretty cool. So now we've got a whole lot more room for all the things that we are about to start picking. And one of those big things that we're fixing to get into is watermelons and cantaloupes. The watermelons don't necessarily need to be cold because they got a pretty good shelf life, but the cantaloupes do. We have still got a lot more stuff in our greenhouses than I would like for us to, but we are still learning, and we know next year what we need to cut out and what we need to grow more of, what we need to do less of. A big thing that we got knocked out this week is got our mum crop started. We're growing two different sizes of mums this year. We're doing these 13-inch big pots, and then we're doing the 9-inch mum pans. I can't remember how many colors we've got out here. I think there's 12 colors, and they're different. Most of them are different maturities, and I've already been having some insect pressure. I think this is worms. I don't know if I thought it was worms, and I had somebody agree with me that it was worms, but somebody else said they thought it was grasshoppers. I don't know. I sprayed them, and I think we got a handle on it. Good thing about having a mum crop like this outside is I can spray it with my air blast sprayer in just one pass. 10 minutes, got it all sprayed. They are all on stake drip irrigation, standard spider setup like pretty much everybody does for mums, and they have pretty much doubled in a week. Pretty happy with them. We got some rain yesterday morning, so I don't think I'm gonna have to run these pot drippers this morning. We got rain here at the farm, a 1/4 of an inch. And I really didn't care if it rained here or not, because everything over here is irrigated by default. That's kind of just everything here pretty much has drip irrigation on it. I really wanted it to rain in Advance, the other side of the county where our pumpkins are, because they are not irrigated, but it did not rain a drop there. But we've got a fix for that, and that's maybe the next video. Our blackberry crop is kind of winding down. Let's see, let's get over here to the older ones. These plants here are 2 years older than the ones on the other side of the field. And you can see we've still got some blackberries left to pick. A lot of the canes are kind of succumbing to the cane blight by this stage. The new canes are looking good. We've pinched the top out of the new canes early on, you can see, and there's a lot of lateral branching coming on as a result of that. That's what we want. Big, thick, full plants, and then the guys will come back through here just as soon as we get time, and we'll cut all these old dead canes out from this year and be ready to go again for next year. But we're gonna pick some blackberries this week, but we're gonna be kind of limited, which I'm not really mad about, because blackberries do not sell as good as strawberries, and they're pretty labor intensive, pretty expensive to pick. So I believe the next crop of blackberries that I plant to replace these, we're going to trim our numbers of what we're doing quite a bit. We are at this point pretty much done. Well, we are 100% done with the strawberries over here, and all of the cold crops we went through this week. Picked the last of the cabbage, got it in the cooler, and this has been sprayed to get it all burned down. And hopefully this week I'm going to get across it with the disc tar, because this is going to be strawberry land for next year. So we have got to get that in the works already, believe it or not. Our first bean field, as you can see, is kind of on its last leg. We've picked the last of the half runners off the first planting. We've still got some purple hull peas left to pick. Not a ton. A lot of the purple sticking up is just the stems that the peas grow on. So we're pretty close. If the guys get time this week, we're gonna drop the strings, pull the sticks on these half runners, and we will get this plastic ready so I can get it burned down. And probably gonna come back with sweet corn, because all of these legumes here will fix nitrogen in the soil. So we should have a little extra nitrogen left over from this crop, and that'll be great to come back with sweet corn on. And this plastic is laid this spring, so it's still in decent shape. Plus the sweet corn, we can spray to keep the weeds out of it. So it is a great option for reusing plastic. I don't know what's up with our okra this year, but it is not yielding like it needs to be. And I don't know why, because these two rows, we've got 1,000 feet of double road of okra, and we're picking like a bushel a day, and that's pretty disappointing. Normally we pick at least 2 bushels a day, but I don't know, we're selling it all. So I guess I would rather be selling it out than to be having some left over. This is the next field coming along, and I had a lot of people question about the poly planter. Or I know I had a couple of people say they questioned whether the plant could come up through the small hole made by the poly planter. Well, I think a picture is worth 1,000 words. This is Blue Lake green beans right here. These are of course half runners. Probably gonna get into picking on some on these this week, but you can see the handiwork of the poly planter. Yep, we're about to start picking half runners over here, and if I don't get stung by a bee, bumblebees are working these beans this morning. Yep, we're about to start picking snap beans off of this field. So we had a little bit of a crop gap there, but not bad. It's gonna work out pretty good. Gonna have a little bit more of a gap on this next planting, unfortunately. On the white plastic that we laid recently, I got it all planted this week, and we've been watering the fool out of it. We actually had to hand plant some of this that we were gonna plant with the tractor, because I tried to plant it with the tractor and I had watered it so hard the tractor started going down about halfway across the field, and I had to abort and back out because I was about to get stuck. But I got all this sprayed and I got it burned down. Some of this stuff, we're kind of, where I've got this stuff mixed up a little bit, we're a little bit limited on our pre-emergent herbicide options. So I try to burn it down right after I plant it and hope for the best. Sometimes I have to come back through and do some banded applications to try to get across the field before the plants get big enough that I burn them with the row middle sprayer. But you can see, like these cucumbers, pickled cucumbers right here coming up. Squash should be, yeah. Squash is coming up. I don't really know why these snaps are not poking out of the ground yet, but they should be soon. It has just been miserably hot here. Over on this side, we planted all of our specialty pumpkins. It's been so hot and dry. Normally I plant all my pumpkins no-till, and including the specialty pumpkins, but the yield, there's just no comparison in the yield from plastic mulch, especially brand new plastic mulch, freshly laid plastic with fresh fertilizer under it. On drip irrigation, I think it more than doubles the yield. I don't have an exact figure for you, but I know it doubles, and I think if you take good care of it and give it enough potassium nitrate, I think you can more than double plastic mulch versus no-till. And that's no-till in good conditions with rain and not weed competition. That's a perfect no-till crop. So if you have a mediocre no-till crop versus a plastic mulch crop, you're talking 5-6 times as much. But these, well, right there you can see pumpkin starting to poke its cotyledon up. Yep, we're poking up. So this stuff will be up and rolling here pretty soon. We're a little bit late getting this in. These specialty pumpkins, a lot of them are 100 days or more. They should have been planted earlier, but it's just been so dry and we've been so busy. I'm hoping that being on this plastic, we're gonna be able to get our deadline of when we want to try to sell them. Got another block up through here. I tried planting with poly planter on the back of the tractor and I could not get it timed right where it was planting like it needed to. It was 95 degrees. I was in the blazing sun, so I went and unhooked it and hooked up the water wheel transplanter. The guys jumped on the seats and we plugged these seeds in by hand. Didn't take long. Got that knocked out. Sprayed across all of this with Roundup and Reflex and Dual Magnum. for pre-emerge. I haven't used Reflex and Dual in several years, and I think pre-emerge herbicides are just like Roundup or Liberty or Gramoxone. I think the more you use it, the more problems you're going to have out of it. So I try to rotate my pre-emerge program. So hadn't been on this one in a while, and I've used it on some other crops earlier this spring and got really good hold back on the weeds. It rained just in time to get that Reflex and Dual in, so get it kind of soaked into the soil. So I guess that's one good thing about it raining over here. So hopefully we're gonna have really good weed control on this field. Up here, this block is gonna be for more beans and corn, and then the upper block is gonna be for late tomatoes. Those are in the greenhouse. We need to get them moved out where they can kind of get abused a little bit by the sun and wind. Dry them off, harden them up, and we might plant those the end of this week. The rain has really shot the weeds up in my tomato field. This tomato field has been clean as a whistle, but it is not now. One thing I've got going on, if you're familiar with pest ID and symptoms, you will see that we have got a pretty severe spider mite problem. And I'm gonna see if I can show you one here. See this leaf, the way it looks? You can actually see the webs underneath. I'm gonna try to get a picture on my phone here and get it blown up and show you a spider mite. Show you how to find them, ID them. Alright, so unless you have a little handheld magnifier, you're not gonna see spider mites with the naked eye unless your eyes are like Superman or something. So you can have a magnifying glass or like a little handheld magnifier, but the best thing I have found is to take a picture with your phone if you got a pretty good camera, and you can zoom in. And I don't know how good this is going to work, but right there is a dead two-spotted spider mite. There's another one. They're more yellow when they're alive, and if you can hold still enough with a magnifier, you can actually watch them move. There's another one. But then, just like the name implies, it's a tiny little insect with two big, easily identifiable spots on their back. And these are the little dudes that give you a fit in the greenhouses, on your tomatoes, cucumbers, you name it. They suck the life out of it. So that's why our tomato crop doesn't look quite as good as it did. That's why there's all this bronzing. I think I pretty well knocked them in the head. I wasn't able to spray an ovicide this week because the ovicides have a pretty long post-harvest interval. And I just sprayed acromite because there's a 3-day post-harvest. We picked really hard. I sprayed acromite, and then we waited 3 days before we harvested again. So I don't know how well they're gonna turn around, because we had a pretty dang heavy infestation before I got them sprayed the first time. Should have been caught earlier. There's certain patches in the field that are worse than others. I am a little bit concerned about my next crop of tomatoes because they're going right here behind me. A little bit leery about these spider mites spreading into that field when it's just taken off. I don't know, I'm gonna have to get some advice from some smarter people than me. But I'm real happy with our tomato crop overall. This is one of the better tomato crops I've ever grown. You can see I'm just praying the wind don't get up, real heavy wind or thunderstorms or something in the near future, because you can see our trellises are already bowing with the weight of the crop. Really good crop of tomatoes. Not just because they're mine, but very pleased with them. Right here you can see the spider mites taking down these cucumbers. I sprayed these as well, but I was really more trying to control population than I was trying to save this cucumber crop, because this cucumber crop is on its way out. We're about done picking here and we're about to start picking over there, and I really didn't want to. I'm trying to get the population knocked back so that I don't have just an absolute infestation of spider mites sucking all the juice out of every crop that I'm growing. We've also got some western flower thrips going on. They're significant on the cucurbits, but they're pretty bad on the tomatoes as well. If you've got a keen eye, you probably saw some tomato spotted wilt virus up there in our tomatoes. It's just kind of par for the course, unfortunately, for our area. I was at the North Carolina tomato growers meeting back in the winter, and they had a whole session on western flower thrips, and they said that the only thing that we have that has really the highest efficacy of control on western flower thrips is Radiant. Radiant is I think it's made by Dow, but it's $850 a quart, give or take. It's a pretty low rate you have to spray, but still it's very expensive. And lucky for us, here in my part of North Carolina, we have got some resistance documented to Radiant. So for us, the only option we have is very expensive and has limited efficacy. So that's kind of where we're at on controlling thrips. There is none. We are about to start pulling some cantaloupe this week. We've got some that are about ready to start slipping from the vine. The guys came in with a small lug of them yesterday. We'll probably pick a few bins of cantaloupe first of the week. We've got Avatar, Athena, and Ambrosia, and then up above we've got canary melons and honeydew. Just a little bit of everything, multiple plantings, so we can keep the flow coming. And this is kind of cool. I don't know how well the microphone on this camera will pick it up, but this whole field sounds like a beehive. I love coming out first thing in the morning when all the bumblebees and honeybees are working these flowers. The last thing I think I've got here is this late cucurbit field. We've got cantaloupes, pickles, and squash. And you may have heard me talk about that I'm gonna probably start gassing all of our rows, laying plastic in the fall and fumigating the beds. And right here is a prime example of why. I sprayed this field with pre-emerge, or good pre-emerge, in between the rows, and you can see the lack of weeds in between in the row middles. But you can see that all these weeds are coming up that we didn't get pulled out of the holes where the cantaloupes are in. If I fumigate this, that's going to completely put the brakes on that, and it will also eliminate a lot of that problem up there with the rhizoctonia on those beans, where you saw, if you were paying attention a minute ago, the beans that are starting to turn yellow at the bottom, that's rhizoctonia killing them. So it's not cheap to fumigate, but I think that it is worth doing for the lack of weeds that you'll have and the lack of disease, because it's expensive to pay people to come through and pull all these pigweeds, and they're gonna have to pull these pigweeds as we start pulling cantaloupe, keep them from going to seed, which they're about there. All right, y'all. Well, I'm going to wrap this thing up and get to work. I appreciate y'all watching. Hopefully, if you were one of the ones that had asked some questions on a previous video, hopefully I covered some of those questions for you. If you got any more, drop them in the comments. I appreciate y'all watching. Hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the content. I've noticed that based on my YouTube analytics, there's about like 20% of my viewers are subscribed. That's crazy. So what's up with the rest of y'all 80%? Y'all hit that button. Helps the channel out. I'll see y'all on the next one.